Ladies and gentlemen, once again, you know who it is. It's the big guy with the big show, the Lord Nelson, that is. Yeah. From the podcast Live and Loud with the Lord on the CMS network with Five Royals Entertainment. And ladies and gentlemen, you see this young man right here. It's always good to have another handsome face on here to add to the show. You see him over there doing this thing. And as always, I like to read a few things about this young man to big him up, to let him know how I feel as I dug into his catalog to see who he was. And I want you to check this out. So, ladies and gentlemen, my next guest is one of those drummers / musicians that is an undeniable force filled with energy and passion, delivering a mainstream rock sound that is massive and bold with a harmonious element that pleasures the ears of the masses. This young man is a definite creative, sharing his outstanding abilities with a few bands and continues to brand his awesome musical talents in your mental. He is also an amazing host for the show, the Mind Meld podcast. We had to talk about that a little bit. You let me know what's up with that. And I am honored, thankful, and grateful to have him bless the Live and Loud with the Lord show with his presence. So without further ado, I welcome for you the incredible David Perry of Fear of Water. Yeah.
Dude, thanks for having me. What an amazing intro. Good to be here. Man. Big fan. Yeah, really happy to be sitting here with you today.
Hey, man. Awesome, man. Thank you, man. I've definitely been I'm very appreciative. I really do. So my first question to everybody always is, where are you from, young man?
I am originally from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, born and raised there. And I just, after a certain point, I realized that the Wisconsin winters were crushing every ounce of happiness and artistic joy out of me. So I moved about 10 years ago to Austin, Texas, and now I wear shorts on Christmas, and it's awesome. So,
listen, it has to be definitely cold up there, man. Milwaukee, know, I'm thinking about Wayne's World. What did they say? Milwaukee?
Yes. Oh, Milwaukee. It's Algonquin. Algonquin for the good land. Yes. Yeah.
Awesomeness, man. I appreciate it. So, what was the best thing when you were there about being from Milwaukee?
So when I say this, I'm surprised at the amount of people who don't know what I'm talking about, and I'll be curious to see if your listeners are aware of this. So Milwaukee is famous for, it's a smaller city. You know, people call it a suburb of Chicago to kind of be a dick and poke at the city, but it's most famous for Summerfest, which is, by the metrics, it's the largest music festival in America. And I know that it doesn't have the name cachet of like Bonnaroo or Lollapalooza or Coachella or anything like that. But it's, instead of it being one weekend, it's 11 straight days. It got chopped up a little bit during COVID, but for 50 years, it's been 11 straight days, 11 stages. All 11 of those stages, every single night, even like a Wednesday in the middle of July, have serious headliners, either from like current top 40 of whatever genre you listen to, or like Journey or REO Speedwagon or Ice Cube or like whatever, boy band you liked in the 90s. Like, it is an enormous gathering of bands right on Lake Michigan. It's an unbelievable, it's incredibly well run. It's scenic. If you're used to the madness of like Lollapalooza or something like that, Milwaukee is a much more manageable city. So you get like top tier entertainment that you would get at any music festival, but 11 days of it. And it's easy to navigate the city. It doesn't like make you go broke. It's amazing. And like, I did that every single year since I could like get on a bus as a kid. So maybe like 6th or 7th grade, all until I moved to Austin. So like, if you haven't heard of Summerfest, if you haven't visited Milwaukee, the middle of summer, this is the perfect time to go. Like, it's amazing music festival, whatever music you like, it will be there. It's great. Yeah.
What's so wild about that? I say it all the time, and I don't even know if people really understand how visual I am. So you just took me on a journey, really, and I'm seeing everything, and I'm looking, and I'm looking at the stages, and I'm looking at the artists, and then you're speaking about like, how beautiful it is, and all the, and then July, and then I'm just saying to myself, and then I'm like, well, it's close to Chicago also. So those stars could get in there and boom and get there and get in and get out. And no, listen, it just sounds amazing, from what I can visualize. So yeah.
Yeah, well, that's a really good point. So talking about being close to Chicago, it's a love-hate thing that I have where while Summerfest is great, unfortunately Milwaukee is in such close proximity to Chicago, and then it's kind of halfway between like Minneapolis, Detroit, Indianapolis, that there's not enough major music venues in Milwaukee that you'd see some of the biggest tours going around the country would almost always skip Milwaukee unless it was something like Summerfest. So I would have to go to Chicago or something like that. And that's a shortcoming in Milwaukee, that they've never truly invested in like a House of Blues or a more rock oriented venue on a larger scale. And I just think that they're suffering artistically and economically because of it. It's unfortunate, but yeah.
No, I got you, man. Indeed. And then, of course, also Laverne and Shirley, man. Did we forget that? I'm an older dude, so you know I know a little bit about that.
Yeah. Wave at the bottles. Yeah. I mean, Happy Days. That 70s show. Yeah. Like there's a lot of Wisconsin. Yeah.
Indeed. Yeah. So are you into sports and you know, we know what's up there. I got to ask that question because I'm a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. I'm a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, and I have a few people that are from up that way, and they love those guys. So are you into sports, and are you a mild cheesehead or a sharp one?
That's a great way. That's a phenomenal way of phrasing it. I'm a mild cheesehead. I might even say I'm slightly lactose intolerant to continue with the metaphor. Just at a certain point in life, I needed to make room for music and just an obsession with sports, which all of my family is. And interestingly, my parents are from Chicago, so they're Bears fans, but my brothers are Packers fans. And so I'm enough of a Packer fan that I'm very happy when they do well, but when they do poorly, I don't even know about it. It has no impact on me whatsoever. That's like a nice little sweet spot to be in, for sure.
I got you, no doubt, man. The older I get, the more I'm just like, you know, I can't control it. So, you know, I'm falling back a lot, man. You know, I'm just like, let them do what they do. And if they win, they're good. And I do have a line in one of my songs that I wrote. I'm not from the Middle East, but I pack a stand like those Pittsburgh Steelers and those Packer fans. Because hey, listen, it's just who I am, and it's just out of respect for the Packers, also, man. So it's a beautiful thing. So listen. So
I will say I gotta say that one piece of Packers credit that I can proudly own is that might get the year wrong, but in 2012, I went to the Packers 49ers division playoff game, and it was with the wind chill at Lambeau Field. It was -65. I will say that again, -65. Here in Austin, when it gets to regulars like 65 above zero, people are putting on jackets and hats, and I'll be like, I've literally watched a 3.5 hour game outside in 100 degrees colder than this. So it's just interesting how people can't adjust.
That's crazy, man. That weather is bananas. But I can understand you moving to Austin, man. Yes, indeed. So now we got you know, a little bit of preliminary stuff out the way. I like to talk. I mean, just, you know, so everybody gets comfortable and it's all love. So if you don't mind, can we speak about you being born deaf and and your incredible journey to recovery? Because I'm truly interested in this, man, because of what you've done. And I don't want to talk too much because I want to hear what you say about this, man. I'm very interested in hearing this.
Yeah, it's a bizarre journey that I was unknowingly sent on. And I want to start off by saying that, like, suffering is subjective. Like, a lot of people, everyone suffers, and I'm very empathetic to that. And I think it's part of the human condition is that when you are going through it, your suffering is relative to yourself. Like, you are entitled to be upset or even depressed or feel like the world is against you when things are going poorly relative to your life. The whole thing about, like, there are starving kids in China doesn't really have an impact on you in terms of, like, if you're going through it, if you're going through a divorce, if you're battling substance abuse, anything like that, other people's suffering shouldn't make you suffer less. So I just want to, before I go into this story, which might sound like woe is me, I just want to say I'm very empathetic to the suffering of others. But what's interesting is that, so getting into the story, I wasn't even aware of what was necessary. I'm using air quotes, what was wrong with me. So I was born for a long time. I was born with incredibly extensive damage and infection in my ears. And this infection started in the womb. So when I came out, I was what they would call clinically deaf in the way that, you know, I'm wearing glasses. I have my eyeballs are also pretty broken. I'm not allowed to, like, a lot of people with bad prescriptions, like, can't drive a car without their corrective lenses, which is why on their license it says, like, corrective lenses, because it's a requirement for the safety of others. That's what's called, like, legally blind. So think about it in that sense, because there is like 100% deaf, which is not something you can recover from. So in case your listeners are like, how can you be deaf and then not deaf? So in that sense, I had totally non-functioning, highly damaged and infected eardrums. And the doctors weren't able to figure out for a while what was going on, why I wasn't responding to certain, audio stimuli, things like that. And an infant can't, like, point at their ears and be like, these aren't working. Again, you don't know. You don't know what your body does or anything like that. So over the years, when they ruled things out, like, is he autistic? Is he on the spectrum? Is he actually deaf? They realized what was going on, and it was just this, like, pervasive infection. So through years of, like, surgeries, really hardcore medications that they were FDA approved and are no longer FDA approved because they were creating, like, spinal cord deterioration, like a lot of crazy stuff. And then went through years of speech therapy. I wasn't talking until I was about 6. But I eventually recovered, but I was starting to talk at a time where kids around me, my peers, were learning arithmetic and writing cursive and how to read a clock and how to tie their shoes and, like, using their short-term memory for, like, history dates and stuff like that. I was starting from scratch at that point. So I went through every single year, 1st through 6th grade, did terribly. Like, literally at 2nd, 3rd grade, I couldn't read a clock, couldn't tie my shoes, could barely write my name, couldn't remember, like, 3-syllable words. Like, I was at an enormous disadvantage because my brain was playing catch up because I just started hearing. And it was really frustrating. Like, I really felt isolated. And then at that point in time, when I'm surrounded by my peers, the suffering objective thing starts to kick in, where it's like, oh, I'm realizing that I got screwed. Like, I got a raw deal. I got dealt a bad hand. I didn't realize it until I'm here. And now I'm realizing that this is essentially a competition for academics, for girls, for friends, for teacher approval, for whatever. And I'm doing terribly at all of it because I'm so regressed. For everyone else. So while that was going on, I'm failing every single grade. I'm kind of acting out emotionally and socially because I feel like I've already lost the race, so to speak. During that time, I start really diving into music. It's right around that time that I discovered Nevermind by Nirvana and Pretty Hate Machine by Nine Inch Nails. And that kind of became my language. And I was so consumed with the music and the beats, the driving force, I have no musical knowledge at this point, but just starting to compute, like, what do these instruments mean to me? What do these emotions mean to me? And understanding what a scream feels like versus what a emotional falsetto feels like. Again, not understanding the terms, but just identifying these things in music. And after, several years of the struggle, I was just like, fuck it. Like, is it all right if we swear? Sorry, I didn't ask ahead of time. Okay. Fuck it. Like, I'm doing music. Like, even as a little kid, I was like, everyone else can do this scholastic thing or whatever and play sports, and I'm doing music. So I just started teaching myself how to play instruments terribly. This was pre-YouTube, not to date myself, but, like, it was literally sitting down with my, my CD of Nevermind and holding my brother's Betancourt model Washburn guitar and just being like, I've seen videos of people, like, on MTV. I understand that, like, one hand strums up and down, the other hand does something to make the notes. And I literally spent months just being like, is this a note? Nope. Is this a note? That sounds kind of like something. And it affected, like, my entire approach to all music. I have no classical training. I ended up doing, like, I play in insane tunings that worked well with this way of trial and error of learning guitar. And anyways, so bringing it full circle, in 6th grade, again, failed every single grade. I'm getting more and more distance kind of from society and my peers and just being like, the only thing I understand is music, but I wasn't good at music. In fact, I had no ambidexterity. And as I'm trying to learn how to play drums, I'm doing these, boom, chink, boom, boom, chink, the most basic drum beats. And I'm realizing I'm like a marionette, that when I lift this arm, this leg goes up, And when I left my left arm, my left leg goes up. I could not separate the two. And it was incredibly frustrating because I could look at Dave Grohl in the Smells Like Teen Spirit video and be like, I get what he's doing. Like, I understand the components. I just physically can't do it. And it reminded me a lot of my speech therapy when I was coming out of deafness, where my therapist would be like, bottle. And I would understand that this is a bottle. And she's going, buh. Oh, I understood what she's doing with her mouth. I understood what it was. I understood how it's spelled. But then when it came to me saying it, I would just stutter and get completely frustrated.
Right.
So that was happening with drumming. And I have this very specific memory of my family, spring break. We're driving from Wisconsin to Florida in this giant conversion van. And I'm listening to the Load album by Metallica on my Discman in the back of the van. And I'm just listening to this song over and over again that has this very straightforward drum beat. And I'm air drumming, and I'm just doing it over and over again. I'm just persistent. I'm doing it wrong, but I'm persistent. And literally on the 80th time of playing the song, there's this pop in my head, like what your ears feel like on an airplane. It was that times 100. And it was so visceral that I actually threw my headphones off and looked around. I have two older brothers. Like, someone must have punched me in the back of the head or something. But no one was around me. And I was like, what just it hurt. There was a huge release inside of my skull. And after calming down of 15 minutes of trying to figure out what was going on, I calmed down, put my headphones back on, pushed play on the song, and the strings were clipped. I just had ambidexterity. I was like, holy shit, it's happening. It's happening. And then I listened to the whole album, and all of a sudden I can I understand fills, and I understand poly beats, and all the spring break. We were by the beach. I was like, fuck this. I don't care. I just sat in my room with my Discman and my book of CDs, and I'm just listening to, Smash by Offspring and Nevermind by Nirvana, and just playing all these drums. And I'm so excited about to get home and play on my real instruments. We get home, spring break's over, go back to school. All of a sudden I can read a clock. I can tie my shoes. My short-term memory comes back. I start retaining vocabulary. And at this point, and since then I've spoken to a neurologist about this, and this pop that I was talking about happens with stroke victims or people who have severe head trauma, that it's literal scar tissue in the gray matter of your brain, separating and allowing synapses to occur, opening new neural pathways in your brain to have parts of your brain, your subconscious, your thinking mind, your animal mind communicate with each other that haven't before. So at that point I realized it's literally I don't believe in fate per se, but it feels like a genetic destiny. Music has given me so much of my life back that I realized at this point that it would be foolish for me to squander that. That this is so important and core to my foundation that I have to fully dedicate myself to this. So from that point forward, I've taught myself as many instruments as possible, and then started teaching myself production and how to record and how to program drums and how to engineer and how to master. And it's just been an obsession since then.
Man, I'm here, man. I'm telling you, man, goosebumps everywhere. That is incredible because once again, I'm so visual. So I was with you that whole time. And so when you said that pop thing, I hear it. And I'm like, wow, that is really incredible, man. And the reason why I was really interested also is that I have a cousin who is deaf, and Theodore. And so my whole life, he's older than me, but he always sign language, the whole nine always. And, and I remember he would always get frustrated that we didn't understand. He's super smart. He always had a great job doing what he did. And, but it was frustrating for him when we wouldn't understand. So he finally got to the point where he was just like, give me a pen and a paper and let me just write this down so you guys can understand. But we were younger, it was still hard. Yeah. And but I remember my wife, when I introduced him to my wife, I remember my wife knows sign language. And so he was speaking to her and she was speaking to him, and it was just unbelievable. He just smiled and he just like, oh, whatever. And she was just like, yeah. And it's cool.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So there's this movie that came out 2 years ago called The Sound of Metal that I would suggest everyone watches. Okay. Yeah. So for those who haven't seen it, it's a movie about a punk rock duo that are also recovering heroin addicts, and they're engaged, and the music is what keeps them straight. Like, like dedicating themselves to their music career is what's helping them in recovery.
Right.
They don't value their ear protection at all. They never wear earphones or anything like that during a show, which if you're a musician, even if you're a concert, like, wear fucking earplugs. There's really good earplugs out there that only cut out the like harsh frequencies, and it doesn't affect the music at all. But there's certain high-end frequencies that physically tear at the insides of your ear canal, your eardrum, and you don't get that back. So please take it seriously. But anyways, this movie does a phenomenal job of depicting his journey into hearing loss and then deafness. And one of the most amazing things that it does, to the point about your family member, is that it really shows the deaf community as like, they don't, that is their community. Sign language is their language. It's not a Band-Aid.
Right.
It's not a temporary solution. This is their culture.
100%.
So the drummer, the main character, wants to get cochlear implants, which is this electronic device that interprets sound waves in a way that simulates hearing. It's very tinny and awful. It might be, for some people, better than nothing, but he gets embraced by this deaf community of other people who are also in recovery, and all he's talking about is, I need to raise money, I need to get this implant, and all these other people are saying, like, they don't say this exactly, but it's something like saying, like, that's like saying, I need to not be French, or I need to not be white. Yeah. So I'm like this is who you are. This is our culture. Yeah. This is our language. And that it's actually kind of insulting to have you being so adamant about, like, I need to not be this culture. So it really gives a different perspective.
Oh, man, listen. Once again, man, just a great segment, man. I love that. And I love when things are just good for me. I want it to be good for everybody, and I know it shall be. Because, you know, when you speak about empathy, I'm a very empathetic person, man. So no, that was that was great, man. So that was really that moment. What called you to drums more than anything else?
It's a good question. So failure would be the short answer. When in fourth grade, again, I'm still just at the peak of like my cognitive brain rebelling against me, and I just failing everything. In fourth grade, you get the opportunity to try out for band. And the band tryouts are, you get this little plastic song flute called the recorder. It's a shitty piece of plastic with 3 holes in it. And you play like Hot Cross Buns or Jingle Bells. And you play it real slow, and you have this sheet music with huge notes, and you get basically 2 weeks to learn how to play this 3-note instrument and play like Hot Cross Buns. I couldn't even do that. But I was adamant to my band teacher, like, saxophone is the coolest instrument. I want to play it. Actually, jazz was my first favorite style of music. Yeah, again, before I understood anything about music, there was just something about how frenetic and energetic and interesting it was. So I was really drawn to sax. And my band teacher, I'll always remember, Mr. Hotz, spelled with a Z, was very like encouraging of my desire to be a musician, but he was also didn't sugarcoat it. He's like, I'm gonna shoot you straight. You struggle so much with this. This is the most simplistic thing I can give you, this 3-note plastic recorder. A saxophone is 500 times more complex than this. This will probably make you quit music. It's like, I really think that where you're currently at, we can develop these skills, but I got to put you in the percussion section. And at first I was like, this is bullshit. This is like the reject section. We just stand in the back of the room and like hit stuff. And within 1 week, when you're in a band room, for those who haven't done it in school or maybe seen an orchestra before, you're in the driver's seat of the 50 musicians in front of you. Like, you are literally driving without you. You're relying on this conductor with his silent baton, and that's not rhythm. There's nothing primal or tribal about that. So I realized very early on that, like, when I pick up this mallet and hit this kettle drum or this timpani or the snare drum, like 50 people change what they're doing to align with what me and my bandmates are doing. I started thinking about music that way. I went back and listened to Nevermind, and I was like, oh, Dave Grohl is the reason why I like Nirvana. Like, everyone, you think like, oh, this song is catchy, or Kurt Cobain has a good voice or something. But I was like, no, it's the driving force of the drums. It completely changed the way that I viewed all music. So that's what I started with. It was like, I need to, and I also knew that I wouldn't necessarily have to read music. There's not like notes when it comes like chromatic notes when it comes to drums. So I knew that, the deck that I was working with, short a few cards, I was like, I'm going to set my targets low. I'm passionate about drums. I think I can do this. And I just became obsessed.
Man, that's awesome. And I just remember Dave Grohl. He was talking to I can't remember what the guy's name. I don't know if he's an old blues singer, R&B drummer, or whatever. He said, I stole all your stuff. I don't know if it was the drummer.
Yes,
I watched that and I laughed so hard.
Yeah, so it's a funk band. He was obsessed with funk and disco.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yes, he's huge on that. Yeah.
And just like you said, man, Teen Spirit is one of the greatest songs that I've ever heard. I really mean that. The tension and release of that song is just amazing. Yeah. And I see that you have a lot of that in your music also, which is fantastic. It's something about
dynamics.
Yes. There's no doubt, man. So that's beautiful. So did your parents or others who recognized your talents encourage you to pursue, your music career? Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's not a straightforward answer. So my mom and my dad could not be more polar opposite when it comes to like being musically talented is something that you are genetically predispositioned for. That doesn't mean that someone can't. If you have no musicians in your family, that doesn't mean that you can't become a musician. Right. But I come from, on my mom's side, a lineage of like literal traveling family bands in a caravan where they go city to city and they play so they can eat that day and then they go to the next city, like for generations.
Yeah.
And that has produced like multiple generations of award-winning like operatic singers and phenomenal organ players. And we have all over my mom's house, we have framed pictures of their, them headlining these famous amphitheaters in the 20s, 30s, and 40s. So my brothers are also very musically gifted, and my mom has always encouraged us to pursue that, including paying for lessons. She realized very quickly that lessons are not for me. I don't take instruction well in that sense. I'm much more focused on creating and less about like rudiments and structure and posture and so she's been huge about that. My dad couldn't play a kazoo if his fucking life depended on it. So it's been very much so about my mom, and she's still to this day. And we've even done like some recordings together, which means the world to me. Yeah. So she's a phenomenal musician. She's very active in her church choir, and she's just given so much to us musically and encouragement wise that I will forever be thankful for that.
Man, love and shout out to moms, man. Most definitely.
Yeah. Oh,
man,
yeah, Mom.
I know. Yeah, indeed. And and I know in my house, man, there was always music, man. My mom and dad, both of them loved music, and they played everything. And so I'm a military kid, and we listened to everything. And so I thank them for it. And my sister, she plays saxophone. My older sister plays saxophone. And when you said that, I was just like, I just thought about her playing that Grover Washington Jr. Wine Light album a million times. And so that's why I love it so much. I love that album. It's just, it's really great. And so she was.
What was like the first album for you that you were like, you knew that you had a musical direction in life? Like it resonated so strongly with you that you're like, I want to create this album someday, but speaking my own voice.
I'm going to say that Run DMC was the first one that made me want to just get out there and rap and do those things. They really were. And that was because my brother and his crew, they would do promotions. So they brought Run DMC down. They brought a lot of bands down. And here I am. I'm kind of like offside stage. And I'm seeing a lot of the stuff go on. And so it was amazing to me. And I'm just like, wow. Awesome. And I've always been able to write stories very well. And so I've just listened to everything. So when you talk about Journey and all those, Iron Maiden and Metallica and all that stuff, just growing up, it was amazing. And even before that, all the R&B and funk stuff and country music. Listen, I'm everywhere. And so I'm so appreciative of it. And so I love music. I wish my wife loved music like I love music. She just looks at me like, you're a lunatic. I mean, I say it all the time, but it's a true statement. My kids and everything, I brought them up on everything. So they know music like that. And they listen to a lot of stuff. And a lot of times, they're like, well, Dad, I was listening to this. And remember you were like that. I was like, I wanted you guys to be cultured, to have everything. Just don't be one place. You don't have to. Music is, when they say it's universal, that's a true statement. It is universal, and I love it so much, man. I really do.
Do you think that there is objectively bad music, or is all music valid artistic expression?
I think it's all artistic expression, because to somebody, it's going to be good. So I don't really. I mean, there's some things that I might not like. I just know that when you hear a song, when it's hot, it's hot. You can't deny it. The sonics of it, the orchestration, the vocals, or whatever it is that gets you, it gets you. There's a lot of things I listen to as my boy Cabo San was saying the other day. He was like, man, do you remember we were in the elevator and you listening to the music in the elevator and you were just like, that is amazing. And he said, I looked at you like, what the hell is wrong with you? And I'm just like, I can't help it. I hear what I like what I like, man. It's just, I know. And so I just love music, man. So yeah, and listen. So, ladies and gentlemen, you see he went into his podcast specialty and just asked me a question. I love it. I love it. I love it. That's the whole point. So when did you really know that you were going to go all in with this music?
I wish I had a more romantic answer of like the Dave Grohl route. If I dropped out of high school and I joined a band and I got into a van and I just went to LA and I lived on, dreams and cigarettes and lived on a friend's couch. But that's not the reality. It's much less glamorous and it's much more delayed than what I would have wanted. But there's a silver lining to it. I think that having my music career taking off now, being so delayed, has prepared me with the maturity and responsibility and business acumen to be able to navigate this in a savvy way that will ensure more longevity, as opposed to when I was 19 and starving and just wanted to be on stage and probably would have made terrible decisions. So, for example, when I'm at the crossroads of going to college, which I had to pay for, which, that I tried to get scholarships. I'm not fortunate enough to have, a trust fund or rich parents.
Right.
And I really, really thought about it. Like, I would love to go to college for music, but I really thought about, like, when I leave college with a piece of paper that says you have a music degree, the last thing I wanted was to become a band teacher, because I've had multiple band teachers who I just know in their core wanted to be concert pianists or jazz, saxophone, and then they're relegated to the shame of being a band teacher. You they just wear it every single day. So like, I never want to subject young musicians to that. I don't ever want to, acquiesce to not pursuing my dreams.
Yes.
So, I went to school for marketing and communications and advertising, which then developed into a career of social media and digital marketing, and that. So in a way, this wasn't the plan, but having that root in digital marketing education and then continuing to further that education after college allowed me to still pursue my musical career and honing my craft individually, but not on a collegiate level, but using my professional skill set to build my social following and my digital foundation. And those two things have worked together very well over the years. And also, not to mention that, like, my advertising career has funded my ability to pursue my music career. So, like I said, it's not as romantic as just getting in a van and going to LA. But the reality is that I don't think people truly understand, especially now in the era of streaming, where it's way more quantity over quality, and record labels are disappearing and they don't really serve much of a value anymore.
Right.
And most bands are lucky to even have, or artists to have, one single, even if it's just 15 seconds of a TikTok song that's relevant for 10 minutes, being successful is approaching near impossibility. And my focus has never been, I need to be successful. My focus has been, I need to create artistically. I need the catharsis of telling songs and my perspective and maybe the perspectives of those who can't speak for themselves through music. And I need to continue my never-ending journey of deepening my relationship with all of these instruments. If the byproduct of that is success, fuck yeah. But that's not my metric of success or satisfaction, which has kept me going.
My brother, you are creative, and I feel you on that, because even though I was doing stuff, I was more like, I'm going to raise my family. I had a wife, I had children. That was the most important thing to me. And so, of course, I did music. I had groups here and there and worked with great guys. And people would always tell me, because, I'm in South Carolina, but people would always tell me, man, you're so talented, man. Move to New York. You're so talented. You need to go to California. You need to do all these things. Go to Atlanta. Go, and I was just like, well, that's on the back burner. The music is there. I love it. I always tell people, people like, oh, it's a hobby. It's not a hobby to me. It's something I really love, and it's beyond that to me. And they might not understand it because it's not their dream, it's not their passion. But I'm with you on what you said. I just wanted to. I'm a creative, and so I love it. And success looks different to to people. And so It doesn't have to be this, or I don't have to be on that Metallica level. Now, will we mind being there? Of course not. But it's not that we're trying to force that, or we're enjoying what we're doing. So when you say that, man, I agree with you 100%, man, and I love it. And
sure.
I'll continue to do this no matter what. I'll do music. I'll continue to write. I write all the time. I can't help it, man. So
I love that. That's great.
Yeah, indeed, man. So what was the name of your first band, man, and how many different bands have you been in?
So Fear of Water has been my what you call it, I guess, like a pen name or a pseudonym. It has been my artistic vehicle since high school.
So that was you. Okay, Fear of Water the whole time. Yeah. Okay, yeah.
And there have been periods of time where I've had other musicians around me to be able to articulate Fear of Water music live, but this has always been a kind of Dave Grohl, Trent Reznor type situation where I'm a one-man band. I write everything, I record everything by myself, and then if I can find people to help me execute that live. I'm not a control freak, but I've definitely been in scenarios where I've offered the opportunity for a democratic approach, and the feedback's always been like, this is what it needs to be. Like, you nailed it. Like, let's just do this.
Right.
So that's been great. And I've been able to dedicate myself to Fear of Water in varying levels of degree throughout the years. Currently I'm like all in on it right now, but I'm currently the drummer for the band Raw.
Right.
Do You Call My Name was a big song. What's interesting, so I had that first album when I was in high school, and I fucking loved it. And so if you told high school Dave that 20 years from now you're going to go record Fear of Water music with the lead singer of Raw, Sahaj Tikatin, and after 3 weeks of staying at his house and working with him, he's going to be so impressed by your just suite of services that he's going to ask you to join the band, I'd be like, that's bullshit. That's not a real thing. So that is what happened. So, and he asked me to join in 2021 after him and I did an EP together for Fear of Water. And I'm so thankful for that. It's been an amazing experience. We've done 3 tours together so far, more, on the horizon, which I'm really excited about. I'm a huge fan of Raw. I love Sahaj's, all of the Raw albums. Sahaj behind the scenes has worked with so many amazing artists, like Starset and Motley Crue and otherwise, and several other bands. So it's been a real gift collaborating with him, both for my music and being an extension of his artistic articulation on stage as well. So that's been great. I got the opportunity to drum tech for the band Nothing More through 2022, 2023. If for those who aren't familiar with them, they've been around. I think they got signed in 2016. They've had 2 #1 songs. You can hear them on Octane right now. They have 3 Grammy nominations. Their song "Go to War" was in the trailer for War of the Planet of the Apes. And they're a phenomenal band, and their approach to music from a structure standpoint has been very inspiring to me. And maybe before them, I'm really attracted to progressive metal and prog rock. For those, again, I'm not sure. Sometimes when you speak in those terms, people don't really understand. If they're not super musically savvy, they don't understand. But a standard song, like a Nirvana song, is in a structure like verse, like intro, verse, chorus, guitar solo, chorus. And so we call that A, B, A, B, C, B. A band like Toto or Dream Theater or Steve Vai or Yngwie Malmsteen or whatever, structure doesn't, I'm not going to say it doesn't matter, but it's whatever they want it to be. They will use the entire alphabet and then make up letters after that. So I'm at this interesting crossroads where I'm working with these producers who are phenomenal, and they have many #1 songs under their belts. And I want to take my attitude of like, you can't put me in a box, and then work with someone who's great at making boxes.
Right.
And getting together. So what's really important to me, there's so many bands and songs that I love that are 3 chords and repeating melodies. A lot of good music like that. If I did that, I would be disappointed in myself. My music needs to be interesting to me. Like, I need to listen to it and be like, I could listen to this without lyrics and still be like, damn, this is cool. Almost like I'm scoring a commercial or a film or a video game or something. So These producers that I'm working with have really helped narrow my focus while not compromising what I view as my artistic integrity or what my particular voice or flavor is.
Right.
And Nothing More has done a great job of that. They make catchy songs that are commercially successful, but if you actually dissect what they're doing, it's way more interesting than a Chevelle song or a Green Day song. Which again, they're great at that. It's straightforward. It's three chords.
Right.
Yeah. So that's important to me.
Well, listen, man, that is great, man. And listen, once again, I love when you answer so many of the questions that I have, man. It's just always this beautiful thing. And I just watched a video where you were up there drumming with Nothing More. And listen, the crowd was just intense, and it was just, chanting your name. I was just like, man, this is awesome.
All right, so I just got goosebumps while you were talking about that, man.
Hey, listen,
that was literal bucket list moment. So at the end of the Nothing More tour, and I was introduced to the guys in Nothing More through me being a musician. I've never drum teched a tour in my life, but I am a drummer, so I understand the requirements. A good friend of mine who was their drum tech needed to move to Colombia to be with his family, and the Nothing More camp it's a family. It's not like, okay, whatever, if you have the skill. So him vouching for me was huge. The band needed that comfort. So anyways, it was the last show of the tour at the Machine Shop in Flint, Michigan, which is a legendary venue. And then the drummer, we're doing sound check, and he's like, do you want to play a song? I was like, dude, fuck yeah, I want to play a song. And I thought it was just going to be for sound check. So we sound checked the song. He's like, all right, you're doing it live. And it was total dream, man. Like playing one of my favorite songs with absolutely one of my favorite bands in front of a sold out crowd was just the best.
Listen, priceless indeed. Indeed.
Yeah.
So you have a lot of great music out there. How do you feel you have grown musically since the beginning?
That's a good question. So back to the kind of progressive comment. My first recordings are literally like 7, 8, 9 minute long songs. And I'm proud of them. And I'm glad that I went that route. Like, I'm glad that I started with like, music can be whatever I want it to be. I don't have to be in standard E tuning. This song doesn't have to be 3.5 minutes long. This doesn't have to use a conventional melody that's been used in 10 other songs, which is what makes it popular. Like, so for 20 years, I have been, while I'm getting better at my instruments and better at the craft of forming music, I'm also understanding songwriting better, and then pairing up with people like Sahaj Chicotin and Kyle Odell in Tennessee. I'm going to be working with Joseph McQueen this spring, which I'm really excited about. These guys are masterful songwriters, both from scratch, but also understand how to take, we'll just say, clay and mold it into a vase. And I like to come to the studio with like relatively fully formed songs. I come with a vase, and I'm basically like, how do you see this vase? How can we shape this vase to be more palatable for public consumption? Because I'm trying to walk that fine line of like, I want to have singles that do really, really well. So the song that I have right now with the features Elias Soriano from Nonpoint, which one of my all-time favorite singers. It is, for me, by my standards, it is a very straightforward song, and it is performing really well. It just hit number 10 on the rock charts this week, which I'm really excited about. And but I have other songs that will be coming out soon that are much more complex, but still like consumable. So really just narrowing my focus, honing the clay into a vase that can be enjoyed by more people while still making it very interesting to me and fun to play and different. And really just like the feedback that I get a lot, which is really important to me, is that within the first 10 seconds of a song, a lot of people say like, I know this is a Fear of Water song. And that's critical to me. Yeah. In terms of like instrumentation choice, my approach, certain syncopation and rhythmical aspects to what I do. So I never want to lose that. So that's really been the advancement of while honing my skill set, it's working, just kind of studying the success of our industry and also just other musicians that I really admire and want to emulate and kind of apply that to what I'm doing, but in an authentic way that doesn't sacrifice my integrity.
And you're doing it. I'm just telling you, listening to the music, you still being you, and then having those other elements come in. And because I know somewhere down here, I was asking like, do you allow other people to come in and help you do what you do and things like that? For you to do that at being the creative you are and allowing somebody else to step in and say like, hey, this could be this or this could be that. Having that openness is a great thing because you do have a sound that can be so that is not could be is mainstream where it's palatable to those ears that like people just want to dance. I just want to just move and just feel good. You've got that. There's no doubt about it. So, man, no, I get it, man. Listen, it's a beautiful thing. And so it segued right into me about to ask you about, so you've been doing this music for a while, and Fear Water is definitely your baby. And now you have an amazing top 10 hit, Codependent Parasites. See, it's just all love when you go straight into things. It just lets me know everything is beautiful. So featuring Elias Soriano of 9 Point. So can you describe this feeling you have right now and expound on the meaning of this song? Because I know it means something to you. So
okay. So I'll start with the feeling. Again, I'm just going to be totally honest with you. The feeling is not fuck yeah party. I've had this. I've been doing music is as a career is something I've been pursuing for 20 years.
Right.
The last 4 years, coming out of quarantine, COVID quarantine, end of 2020 is when I was like, so I live by myself, being shut away for all of quarantine. I came out of that being like, no, life's way too short. Like I am seriously going to floor it moving forward. And that started my desire to be working with prominent producers, and then getting a team around me. Like I don't have a record label, so I need to find professionals. So Sean. So as that has been happening, I always have this feeling of kind of low grade anxiety. Like if something's going well, like this song right now has been climbing the charts for 13 weeks. Which that in and of itself, I'm like amazed by. When I look at the charts and be like, I'm above Foo Fighters and Seven, and I'm 2 spots away from like Disturbed and Shinedown, who's had the most number one modern rock songs of all time. Like it blows. So my imposter syndrome kicks in huge. And a lot of it is because I'm isolated. Like this room that I'm sitting in is where a lot of that music comes from. I'm not on tour. I'm not getting that sounds shallow, but I'm not getting the validation of a room full of people singing my lyrics back at me. So there's a huge part of my brain is like, this life arithmetic doesn't add up. You shouldn't be getting successful off of something that isn't being executed the traditional way that all these other bands are doing it. And I'm working really hard to reconcile those two things. I'm very happy, but actually us talking right now is a good example of what I'm doing about it, is that I want to be capitalizing on that momentum and integrating myself more with the music community and having conversations about music and what I'm doing. I want to work with way more artists that I admire, both really established artists and new artists. The single I just put out on Friday is with Aaron Nordstrom of Gemini Syndrome. I have a song coming out with Heidi Shepard of Butcher Babies on the 27th.
Oh, really? Yeah.
I have a song with Clint Lowry of Seven Dust coming out in March. So I'm really, really excited. I have many others in the works. And, I'm flooring it right now. But I have this feeling of I need to... that I have that FOMO, that fear of missing out. So I'm every day I'm how can I take this a step further? Again, without compromising myself, my morals, my health, anything like that. But I'm very in this zone where I'm I've invested so much in the music. Now I need to do everything else around that, all the logistics, the business stuff. And again, I'm doing a lot of that by myself. So it is a mixed bag of happy and stressful feelings.
Well, listen, man, I'm trying to put my name into that mix. Listen, I'm hey, me and my boy Matt Acevedo from Plastic Catastrophe and Lord Nelson, man, listen. Man, so now let me calm down a little bit. If you ever need my services, I'm here for you, young man.
I would love that, man. Seriously,
So I'll just say that most definitely, I got you.
I mean, that's so, we've each talked about our individual passions for music and what that means to us. When you're able to align with another human being and integrate those life driving passions with each other, it's very hard to articulate how special that is to people that don't understand. So I'm the opportunity to collaborate and create art with other people is a gift that I'm
100%. So this what we have is a gift. And And I'm thankful and grateful for it every single day. Music is always playing in my head. I always think about my wife. She's like, do you have to sing everything? She's like, it's not like you're a great singer. Do you have to sing everything? I'm just like, I can't help it. It's just music playing in my head. She's just like, stop making lyrics about my name or what I'm doing right now. I'm just like,
I know exactly what you're talking about.
She's getting in the car. Hey, what?
Yeah.
I just get that look, but no.
Gonna take a left turn. Yeah.
So that's awesome, man.
Yeah, man.
So reading your post on Instagram, and I really want to say this, reading that post on Instagram about this song and the journey is definitely inspiring, young man. I really believe that. It really is. So what continues to motivate you in an industry that can truly be one hell of a roller coaster ride? What's your continued motivation? And you're doing it, man. So what is it?
I think this answer might not make sense. I've been operating from a point of failure for so long. And when I say failure, I just mean up until the last couple of years, I've had what I would call objectively zero commercial success.
Okay.
Which is what most musicians have.
Right.
And like I said, my metric of success is, do I feel like I'm becoming a better songwriter? Am I becoming more prolific and varied in my approach? Am I experimenting with other genres? Am I open to working with other artists who can like share their flavors or their different shades of blue in my painting or something?
Right.
So I have been succeeding on my personal level since then. And again, like you said, if you locked me in a room for the rest of my life and you just gave me some musical instruments and I knew that no one would ever hear anything I would do, I would make music every single day until I die. So it's a blessing and a curse where it's like, I don't need commercial success is not driving my ability to keep going.
Right.
That's a lifelong thing, and one is benefiting the other. Now it's more so about like working with this team that I'm building and getting strategic about like release dates and how high of a production of a video are we doing for this, and like, is there an opportunity to like articulate this live or whatever. So all of that being said, having a song become a top 10 is a a jubilation. Like it is such a wonderful feeling to know that hundreds of rock stations across the country, both their DJs, their program directors, but then their listeners as well, have been embracing this. There's no like, here's $10,000, make this a number 10 song.
Right,
Just like I sent music out and they're like, cool, this is good. And it keeps getting more and more support, and that makes me feel heard. There's a sense of validation there of like, the music is incredibly important to me. If it's important to other people and if they connect with it, if it resonates with them, if it's a cathartic release for them, for their anger, for their sorrow, for their something they haven't been able to articulate themselves, and that's unbelievable. And it would be my absolute honor to keep doing that. So it's
organic. I'm sorry for cutting you off. Yeah, but organically you did it.
No, it's well said.
And so when that happens, that's a great thing, because it's so much about like, we can make this happen for $100,000. This can happen and we can get you to all these right places. But for you to be doing what you're doing and it's just the time for it. And it's just a beautiful thing. So I was also asking, like, was so for the codependent parasites, that title, what was that mess? Were you talking about a specific? Now this is you. So I said I can't let him go by with this. I gotta ask you. I just want to know. Now, if it's something you don't want to talk about, it's fine.
No.
But but I really want to know, because see, I'm interested in stuff like this.
Sure.
Because listening to the lyrics, I'm just like, wow, okay.
Yeah.
So is he talking about somebody specifically, or what? That's me, because I'm a writer.
Yeah, so very much so. The person I'm talking about is kind of depicted over my shoulder here. So the advancement of my music career has been, like I said before, in a lot of ways a blessing and a curse. And not even a curse, but just like, there's something called the conservation of matter in the universe, that like matter doesn't appear out of nowhere. It can transition into something. Water can become gas. Water can be frozen, but water doesn't disappear. So I feel that way about my life, where it's like, if something good is happening in music, something else has to give.
Okay.
And I'm not a defeatist. I'm not pessimistic, but like, pretty well established trend in my life so far that if something in some area of my life is going really well, I need to be prepared for some shoe to drop elsewhere. So I do 6 months of touring straight in 2022 between Raw and Nothing More, like literally straight all the way to Christmas. And during that time, my girlfriend, Amber, decided to start fucking one of my friends, whose name is also Dave, which feels just really great. And, this is coming out of COVID, like you have your bubbles, right? The people that you're safe with, whether you're vaccinated or you're just avoiding other people, whatever. So this was like this became my community, my crew, my connection to the outside world. And during this 6 months of like achieving so many of these things and like playing with Nothing More and being on stage at, Aftershock and Louder Than Life and standing in front of 80,000 people, like truly unbelievable bucket list shit. Unbeknownst to me, this betrayal was happening at home that would lead to literally the complete disintegration of my entire social life. Unfortunately, in Austin, this entire group either became completely complicit. Everyone knew what was going on except for me. Wow. So either out of apathy or being, adverse to conflict or whatever, no one told me what was going on. It was happening in plain sight because I was gone and they knew I was going to be gone. And so it's just this enormous emotional roller coaster dynamic of finishing 6 months of tour and being like, holy shit, after almost 4 decades of my life, things are happening and coming to fruition. Then I come home for Christmas. And I was like, I'm surrounded by liars and people with no moral character. And it was so well established. It had been happening for so long that I lost my ability to speak for myself, defend myself. I felt like I had no platform. I had no one to connect to. I had no plan B. I had no other community. And it was like, it was very gutting feeling to have not only my significant other taken away from me, but to be betrayed by this guy that I considered to be a very good friend. And then to have just the complete support structure of this friend community that was so critical during this scary time of COVID, just show their true colors. Super frustrating. It was, it fucked with me a lot, man, like more than I can articulate. And it really forced me to, I started really writing with a purpose at that point. It's like, if I don't get this out on paper and explain how these two, pieces of shit are connected to each other. There's a magnetism between awful people. Yes. And this is the codependent parasites, is they're almost like they're leeching off of each other. They're enabling each other. Like, it's okay if like I'm not cheating, if you're not cheating. It's like, if we can justify this to each other, we can make a narrative and tell it to ourselves to help us sleep at night. Right. And then while being surrounded by a group of apathetic, pathetic people that are enabling you by just being like, la, 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 I'm not thinking about it. Dave's not here. Nothing's going on. Yes. All of those people and people like that can go fuck themselves. And like we said at the start of this podcast, life is too short to be surrounding yourselves with people of such poor character. And I would encourage everyone to, I call it trimming the fat. You should, at every opportunity you have, you should trim the fat in your life, and you should focus on quality over quantity. If you have 1, 2, 3 really solid people in your life and you return that love to them that they give to you, that's living. Beyond that, like, everyone should have enough self-respect and standards for themselves that they don't compromise with those that they surround themselves with. So I just created this song. I was super proud of it. And then I get Elias on there, which felt so validating. And I was like, this is so great to bring all of his experience and his vocal talent. It raised the level of catharsis, an infinite level, because like, this song has reached its full potential. And I feel, as far as I was concerned, that was it. I reached the finish line. Like, I went through this awful experience. I wrote something that articulated my feelings and experience well. It was handled by a professional, and I got a featured performer that I truly admire. The end. But it wasn't the end, because it's become very successful and it's being embraced by a variety of different communities. And it debuted on Octane in December, and the music video has 300,000 views, and like on streaming sites, it's between all the streaming sites, it's almost up to 1 million streams. So like, and like I said, number 10 in the rock charts on FM stations. Like, I'm trying to think of the right adjective. Like, it has been so validating and liberating and cathartic, and to feel like I went from this place of, I had so much taken away from me by not being able to speak up for myself or defend myself, no recourse whatsoever. to now the story has been so embraced, and the amount of people, because I've been very vocal about the origin of the story, that I've had a lot of people reach out to me and share their pain and their suffering with me on very related topics, and they give their suggestions about how they cope or how they make lemonade out of these lemons.
Yes, indeed.
Whatever euphemism you want to use, and I'm able to share the same with them. And it's like, this is what music should be. There's plenty of music that's like party music and fun or whatever. That's not what I make. And if I can be telling my stories and people can be relating to it, then mission accomplished.
No, it's awesome, man. It's I'll give my little 2 cents here. It was a wake up call for you, and for whatever reason, that was their energy that they went. But the one thing is that amber is not the color of your energy.
Well played, dude. Well played.
Not at all. So you just take it as a life lesson. And what happened? That door opened for you. You were able to dig into it. Now it's boom. So now you've watered and the nutrients that you put into you. Now you put it all into you, and now you're blooming. Now your sun is shining brighter than bright. And so now you just take it and you maximize everything and you just roll with it, man. So you're there, my brother. And it's like this. Thank you. Thank you for pushing me to this and allowing me to be that person that I always knew that I was, or I am. And now I'm able to speak even better, man. So listen, great album cover. Thank you, Amber. It's awesome. We all thank you. Great song.
Yeah. Thank you, Amber.
It's all Amber and Dave, you wild individuals. It's all beautiful. So are there any?
Well said.
And no, it's all love, my brother. It really is. So are there any other songs in your catalog over the years that you feel deserved the recognition that your present hit Codependent Parasites is getting?
That is a great question and a difficult one. I'm gonna think about this more diplomatically. So before starting to begin with these really great producers, I'd been producing myself and recording and mastering by myself.
Right.
While there are songs that I'm incredibly proud of artistically, the objective reality is, regardless of my opinion, that the sonic delivery of them is not on par with Codependent Parasites and basically what streaming, FM radio, satellite radio, accept as like professional quality great music. So it's for the vast majority of my catalog up until 2021, I would say no, but I would strongly encourage people to go check that out on Instagram, on Spotify or Pandora, whatever. It's all available.
Yes.
But that was all a precursor to what I'm doing now. So this song that comes out on the 27th, I think, is going to touch people. It's a song about so I had a really awful childhood. As I said, my mom and my dad couldn't be any more different. And that I was talking about that musically, but that also applies to like my mother believes that you shouldn't beat your children. And my dad did not believe that kind of thing. Right. So, being a 7-year-old who's getting the shit kicked out of him by a 6'4", 350-pound ex-linebacker, has an impact on you. So my mom saved us from that scenario, like literally removed. There wasn't a divorce. She literally my dad came home one day and we were gone.
Right.
And like we went through it, man. Like we lived in a car for a while. There was an entire year where me, my 2 brothers, and my mom all lived at other people's houses separately from each other until we could just get back on our feet. And that made this profound bond between me and my mom for my entire life, which I'm incredibly grateful for, but it unfortunately has also made me, my therapist would call this anticipatory grief, that I've become pretty fixated on the inevitability of her death.
Okay.
And, we all, it's just one of the worst parts of the human experience is that we lose the people that bring us into this world. And the reality is, it's hard for anyone to lose any parent, but the reality is I've invested 2 parents worth of love and relationships into one parent. My father is not in my life at all. He's dead to me.
Yeah.
So I just have this intense amount of love and connection with my mom, but I'm also horrified and like already feeling she's fine now. She's in perfectly good health. But like, honestly, anytime I go to a funeral, this part of my subconscious
Can't
kicks
help
in
it.
where all I can
Yeah.
think about, and I feel selfish about that. In the moment, I'm like crying because I'm thinking about my own loss that hasn't even happened yet, and it's just like it's an inescapable feeling that I have, and I articulated that musically. And Heidi so it's a duet between me and Heidi Shepard from Butcher Babies,
Yes.
who most people might know as like this heavy face ripping
Right.
music, but she shines. So the song's a ballad, and it's her true, gorgeous, clear singing ability made the song exactly what it needs to be. And I think this is a song they're going to give people goosebumps, especially people who have lost a parent before. And it has crossover potential. Like, it has the energy and the hard hits of rock and hard rock, but it's also has these songwriting and melodic components of like alternative music. And people who aren't into heavy music, I think, will also be able to connect with us as well. So that comes out on February 27th. It's called One Day, and incredibly proud of it, and really excited for people to hear it.
Looking forward to it once again. Goosebumps and everything, because I lost my mom early, and right after I graduated from high school, she passed, and she was sick from colon cancer, and she struggled for a long time. And so my father, now I'm great with my dad now. But my dad was a wild dude, and he's admitted that he was a wild boy back in the day. Military guy doing what he does, and I don't mind talking about it. But I love him now. There's nothing I wouldn't do for him, and he's a great guy. He has made amends. He's in the church now. He's a bishop. He's done all of the things that he needed to do. But
the amends is a critical part of it. Like, it's never too late.
It's never too late. That's right.
Come back from that, but you got to make those amends.
Yes, indeed. And he has. He sat me down, and I could just remember him saying, "It was never your mother. It was always me." He's like, "I was just a wild dude." And, and I loved him for that. And so, when, having my family and just knowing the certain things that I wanted to do with my family. But yeah, man, I just would say to you, just embrace everything that's great about your mom. And I know you do. And just continue to just love on her and enjoy every single moment that you have. Because when people speak about their moms, I get emotional about it. And I just want to like push them in the back, like, hey, man, do more if you can. Cherish each second, because it's beyond a beautiful thing, and it's beyond priceless. And having that, there's so many times that I wish I could have conversation with my mom and just say certain things to her or do for her, that I'm older now and able to do things, but now, man, I get you on that. So anyway, once again, thank you for your honesty and your truthfulness about that. And I'm enjoying this conversation so much, man. It's just amazing. So let me say this. Congratulations on your top 10, the swimming. We talked about it. You've already talked about it. Swimming in a pool of popular bands backed by the big machines, because they got that big machine, and you're still winning, which is a beautiful thing. And so
it's wild.
So this speaks to your perseverance and work ethic as an independent artist. So the question is, though, if you have the opportunity to decide what a major, will you do it? You've probably been approached already. Talk to
me. It's so some people are absolutists about this, like, absolutely not. These are, they just want to put you through the machine, get as much money out of you as possible by starting you in a tremendous amount of debt where you owe them money, and then spit you out when they're done making their royalties. So like I said, my delayed success has put me through the ringer of life, starting my own company and developing the business acumen that I know will truly protect me when I reach that crossroads of being able to truly determine the effectiveness and mutual beneficial nature of a contract when I get there. So it's very much so something I'm interested in, but I will absolutely maintain my standards and not settle. And I would rather be a struggling independent artist than a successful slave.
I got you, man. Beautifully said, man. Indeed. So now, you know what? I want to ask you a question before. I'll ask you while I do this. So you are the drummer for Ra. Drum tech for Nothing More, we talked about. And of course, Mr. Everything for Fear of Water. I always like to say, when people play all these instruments, they're like Prince to me. Prince Rogers Nelson, he's a Nelson. We're great. It's a Nelson. It's a thing. I always got to say that, man. It's just love that. So how difficult has it been juggling all these different things and giving time to them and still giving time to you to where you can have that space to do what you need to do?
Good question. I would say this kind of goes back to the suffering a subjective thing, is that objectively, like if I made this into a math equation and just charted out my time allocation and my lack of sleep and what other things in my personal life might suffer because I'm pursuing artistic or business endeavors, the clinical robotic answer would be incredibly difficult. But the real truthful answer is just that it is my life, and it has been my life for so long that I'm not suffering. I don't wake up every day. I'm like, fuck, I have to go do this podcast. This is what I signed up for, and it is work. There's no dream component to this. This is a daily grind that has a ton of perks and ups and things to celebrate, but also so many headaches and pitfalls and barricades to get through. And I am part of my artistic inspiration and commitment is supported and aligned with my business aspirations and commitment as well. So those things work together really well. It's very difficult, but this is what I signed up for.
Now, awesome, man. Listen, I kind of knew the answer to that already, but I said I still want to ask him because I once again, my wife will always tell me, she's just like, when are you going to go to sleep? What are you doing? Why is this, that? I'm just like, you don't understand the stuff that's running through my head, or I need to make this right, or I need to make some content for this, or Matt sent me a new song that I'm writing to, and it's just so much, and I'm paying attention to you also because I know what we're doing. We're independent in doing our thing like that, and so I'm paying attention. I always pay attention because you might give me that beautiful nugget that I don't have, and just seeing your success and we're doing what you're doing. But I know that speaking with Corey Lowry and a lot of the other people, Corey's my boy. It's like it's about that team. And Benji Webb for Skindred, just like, hey, Benji, I think he's the greatest front man in the world. And I'm like, Benji, I just spoke with him the other day, and I was just like, Benji, man, I said, man, because I did a show with him in Paris, and I looked at him, and I was just like, you're the best front man I've ever seen in my life, and I've seen a lot of them.
I love that.
I was just like, oh, my gosh. And so anyway, just great. I'm getting off on a tangent or whatever. But, yeah, man, so I wanted to add, this is what I wanted to ask you, PJ Farley. So he plays with Raw also, right?
Yep.
So, listen, PJ, I had PJ on the show, man. Trickster. And listen, PJ's a great dude. And he's out there, they're out there, Fozzy doing their thing right now overseas. But man, just a great dude, man. So I just wanted to make sure I mentioned PJ, a wonderful dude.
Yeah, it has been phenomenal. So I've done 3 tours with Raw so far. PJ is literally like the quintessential, like, he just is a musician through and through, and he lives on the road. And like you said, he has Trickster, he has Fozzy, who currently is in the top 10 with me. So it's like really exciting having like my bandmate in a different, like we're both in our different bands outside of Raw, and we're both on the top 10 right now. I'm like, that's fucking, I got goosebumps thinking about that. So one of the like sweetest dudes, and also a guy who has persevered through the absolute peak of the music industry. Like when he was a kid, he was getting started when Motley Crue was the biggest band in the world, and like all of the excess and $1 million contracts and arena tours and everything. And he's survived through the absolute worst part of the music industry and has evolved and persevered and has, this is, people get burnt out. People fall prey to substance abuse. People's families fall apart. People run out of money. There's so many reasons that someone can't be a musician for 30, 40 years, and he has absolutely fucking nailed it, and I have so much respect for him for that.
Yeah, man. Listen, great guy, great human being, man. And PJ, shout out to you, my brother. Indeed. All right, so listen, you answered so many questions that came down to it, and I just love it, man. This is, ladies and gentlemen, when you have greatness, when you have greatness and openness and honesty and truthfulness and all those things like that, man, you're going to have a great show, and this has been a great one. So what can we look forward to from Fear of Water and David Perry for the rest of 2024?
All right, so just came out with a new single last Friday. It's called Systemic with Aaron Nordstrom, Gemini Syndrome.
Dope.
It's on all streaming platforms. The music video is on. You can find Fear of Water on all social platforms. The video is on YouTube. I'm super proud of it. That really emotional song, One Day, comes out on the 27th. I would love if you pre-save the song. Again, go to Spotify, go to our social channels. But yeah, I have recording time. My plan is to be recording constantly. It can take 6 months from starting with a producer and an engineer, if you even have a demo ready to when that song is coming out, sometimes it takes a year. So
right.
There's going to be music coming out in 25 that I start in 24. But to answer your question, like I'm just every month I'm going to be putting out these collaborations and working with producers and engineers and other musicians that I love and respect, and I'm flooring it, dude. Like if you like what I'm doing, you're going to get a lot of what I'm doing.
Man, awesome, ladies and gentlemen. You just look for Lord Nelson to be on something in the later part of this year.
Oh yeah, man. Oh yeah, let's do it. I want to take you up on it, man.
Listen, believe me, I got you. It is
all right.
So it's all love, man. And man, I'm just listen. I've had such a good time. I have a great time always because I love doing what I'm doing. And so let me ask. So let's talk quickly if we can. And I want to get you on up out of here about your podcast. Tell me about your podcast and how active are you with it right now?
Sure, great question. So the Mind Meld with Dave Perry is something that you might tell I love talking. I love like having interesting, in-depth conversations while getting to know different people with different experiences. Right. I'm even up for like healthy debate, trying to find middle ground between two people who are coming from completely different places.
Yes.
I have like going through my deafness and coming out of speech therapy has equipped me with a skill set of language, both written and spoken, is part of my skeletal structure. Like it is the most fundamental and important thing to me. Like the ability to communicate is even more important than music to me, but music is a form of communication. So it really just during quarantine, I was losing my fucking mind being in a house by myself for 5-6 months. And I just started a podcast, got all the equipment. You can't see it, but over here is like my podcasting station. Yeah. And I find it's a wonderful way to connect with people and to broaden your horizons. And if you can make an entertaining educational product that is like other people can connect to, whether it's making them laugh, making them learn, making them change their minds about something that's maybe not so great. I love it. So as my music career took off in 21, 22, 23, that took a major backseat. But I just put out my first episode in a long time last week. I have a co-host now, Ryan Rail. He's a retired veteran who is in Afghanistan. We have a ton of different opposing views, but also we unite over music. And we're going to have some really interesting conversations. We'll be interviewing other musicians, and then next time I go on tour, I'm going to be doing episodes on the road with artists, fans, bus drivers, roadies, whatever. So we're looking forward to it, man. Yeah,
we're there together, man. Salute to Ryan, man. Salute to him. I'm a military kid, so my father, a lot of military in my family, so I appreciate it, man. Indeed. So we're almost finished here. Where or what brings you peace of mind?
So it's interesting that you have several times mentioned sleep, and that it's a bit of a struggle for you because you have that active creative mind. You were preaching to the choir, and to the point where, especially as shit was really hitting the fan with that whole traumatic experience that I was telling you about, that like it was the impetus for me starting therapy, which I am an enormous advocate for and would recommend it for anyone.
Yes.
But my thoughts, my inner monologue took control of me. And I'm not talking about like the voices. It wasn't like a, split personality. I'm just saying I'm very in tune with my inner monologue. It's the way that I work out a lot of musical ideas. It's the way I do a lot of my problem solving. And I just started ruminating and marinating in agony and revenge plots and what ifs and sorrow. And like, I literally could not sleep, and it was driving me to the brink of madness. And through therapy and through utilizing certain forms of ASMR, I've really been able to get back in tune with the circadian rhythms, and so to answer your questions, sleep truly brings me peace of mind. And when I sleep, it is a almost transcendental experience. I meditate into the point of sleeping. I'm not one of those guys that can I know my buddy RJ can fall asleep in 2 minutes sitting in the most uncomfortable, position. That's not me. I literally have to go on a journey to sleep. I have incredible dreams. I remember dreams every single day that I wake up, and I work through a lot of my subconscious and trauma and planning and creativity there. So it's dreams and sleep are this unbelievable restorative Zen experience for me every day.
Yeah, my wife says that. She's like, man, nothing like getting some good sleep,
Yeah.
and that's when you do find peace when you're sleeping and
Yeah.
your body's healing and doing all those things, man. It's
Yeah.
This vessel we're in is an amazing vessel, man, of what goes on. But you said so many things where I'm right there with you so much, man. But I do want to say before I ask this last question,
Yep.
that video, man, and then it's all you, Yep. Man, incredible. It's incredible, my brother. I'm trying to tell you.
Quick note on that. So if you're listening, go YouTube Codependent Parasites by Fear of Water. The director, Nick Stitch of Pattern Behavior, did this phenomenal job of there is a band of me. So there's me playing the drums, guitar, bass, and singing, but there's 4 of me in the same room right next to each other. And watching him do it, it's unbelievably monotonous what it takes to be able to have those elements overlapping each other, and he did a phenomenal job. So yeah, go check out that video.
No, definitely amazing. I was just looking at it, I was just like, bam, I was like, look at this. This is fantastic, man. No, I really enjoyed it. It's a great song. I see why it is where it is. It needs to be number 1. Yeah, Fozzy and Shinedown and all of them, move out the way for a moment and let this young man come on in there and do his thing. And, knowing Eric Bass from Shinedown and all these guys, man, all these guys are great dudes. And, hey, man, it's amazing. And I'm proud of you. I applaud you for doing great things. And you really are inspiring. You're inspiring me. And I thank you, man. This is great. So the last question before we get out of here is, what was the last song you listened to?
Great question. What is it? That's so there's I want to get this correct. So I'm building out this list of like covers that I want to do this year, and I'm trying to do them all from genres that I'm not a part of whatsoever.
Got you.
There is a country song out right now called Stomp that has this ripping guitar riff that sometimes I hear songs, or like I covered Bad Guy by Billie Eilish. The first time I heard that song, I was just like, oh, this needs to be like metaled up immediately. So that song is Stomp by Ben Gallagher. Check it out as soon as we're done talking.
Of course.
If you weren't like doing this by the end of the first 10 seconds, then go to sleep. Yeah.
Awesome, man. I love to ask that question because you never know with musicians and what we're doing, what we're listening to, because we love music, man. So that's a great thing. So last thing is, man, the floor is yours, man. If you want to talk about anything, man, just let it be known. Say whatever. Let them know. You already kind of let them know where they need to go. But do whatever you want to do, man. It's you, man. Go ahead and speak your piece.
Man, I just thank you for the opportunity and the platform. I came into this thinking we were going to talk for 30 minutes, and it's been like a lot more than that. And I love it. Time flies. I love it.
Right.
This has been a phenomenal conversation. Yeah. I appreciate everyone who listens and supports art, especially independent art, because it's incredibly difficult to be heard, to even get art together and out to the masses in the first place. So I just want to thank everyone for that. And I hope you join me on this unconventional journey to see what one guy can do by himself. So thank you.
Indeed, man. Hey, once again, thank you very, very much. I have a new brother in the music industry, and I'm thankful for it, man. I really appreciate you. And hey, I can't say enough. Just once again, thank you so much for being here. I'm honored to have you. Great conversation, great time, my brother. You have
thanks, man. I hope to talk to you again.
No, we will. We definitely will. So, ladies and gentlemen, once again, it is yours truly, the Lord Nelson, that is. Yes, indeed, for the podcast Live and Loud with the Lord on the CMS Network with 5 Royals Entertainment and my special guest, one more time for the trifecta, my special guest from Fear of Water, Mr. David Perry. Thank you so much, my brother. I really appreciate you.
I appreciate it.
All right, man. Be good. Take care of yourself. We'll
talk to you soon.
Yes, indeed. All right, peace.
All right.